Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Holly Lawton. I'm one of the directors of Mayday. I just wanted to a few housekeeping and just to explain a few things, how it's going to work tonight. We are obviously broadcasting this onto YouTube, and there is commenting function on the live of YouTube where you can post comments and questions. We will have a live Q&A at the end, so please ensure that you keep your questions to the end because we might miss them. If you have any issue at all with accessing the commenting function on YouTube, we also have a WhatsApp channel as well, which I have put in the link on the Eventbrite page, which I think you've come from, and also that is linked from our website as well. If you go under get involved, it's also a link on there as well. If there's any problems, you can email info@maydaysaxonvale.co.uk and we should be able to pick that up as well. Okay, thank you.
So good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We're really excited to tell you a bit about our vision for Saxonvale, a community-led model for development, how you can invest in our community share offer. So I'm Paul, one of the directors of Mayday Saxonvale, also joined by Holly, who you just heard from, Brigid, Clarke, Ross Hughes, and we've also got Paul Clarke from Stories, our development manager, with us as well. So, moving to the first item. So we're going to start by looking at the model of development that we're proposing to bring forward, and it's a model that has potential far beyond Frome. The model is a response to a system of delivering regeneration that is really broken and isn't really serving communities like ours. Previously, councils used to lead the regeneration of town centres. Since austerity, the funding and resources available to enable that approach has reduced dramatically. However, Somerset Council is still leading regeneration in some towns in the county, like Bridgewater, Taunton and Yeovil, but has decided not to play an active role in the development of Saxonvale. As a result, the site is being disposed of, and unless that buyer is Mayday, that means a sale to a private developer. And there's a fundamental problem with hoping that a private developer operating on their own will deliver what Frome actually needs from Saxonvale. A private developer's job is to maximise return on investment, and what delivers that return is private sale housing. What reduces it is commercial space, community space, affordable housing, public amenities, the very things that really deliver a true mixed-use regeneration scheme. And what we can see up and down the country is the same pattern, that during development, the developer argues that these things aren't affordable, and even when they're written into the local plan, and they get reduced or cut. With build costs rising, that argument is only going to get easier to make, and it's the route that will inevitably be taken. So into this void, Frome is bringing forward a community-led model, but applying that to a whole town centre regeneration scheme. This is a model where the community takes the lead, takes control of its own built environment, takes control of its future, and we hope it will show the way for other communities to do the same. Over to you, Ross.
I think it's me actually, Paul. So why are we here? So Saxonvale, I know it's a contentious point with some people and it's been going on a long time. But I think the reason why is because why we care so much is that it is our town's last major central regeneration opportunity. There's no other central sites. This is a quarter of the size of our town centre. It's enormous. It's 12 acres. I think it was 12 football pitches, and what happens here is really going to shape the future of our town. There's so much development already, that's been planned, and with Selwood Gardens that have just been approved, and more on the horizon. Like, our town is changing, it's evolving, and we need a town centre that can substantiate that, and we need to be able to fully extend our town centre, and just a housing site is not going to be able to do that, and it's not going to be able to support that. And what happens here in this site, it is going to affect our town, for future generations. So what are we delivering? We are delivering the largest community-led development in the UK. This is a picture of our master plan here, and we have designed a mixed-use urban regeneration site. And we are, designing this for people and for our community, and we want the places and the spaces to fit in with our town, and to have that, community spaces and high quality public realm.
Okay. Now, while delivering housing is a really important part of Saxonvale, it's important to stress that this isn't simply a housing development. What we're creating is a new neighbourhood at the heart of Frome, a place where people can live, work and connect. So our plans include 250 plus homes, with at least a 30% being affordable housing. And we're exploring how we can maximise that percentage, because we know housing affordability is one of the biggest challenges facing Frome and the rest of the country today. Just as importantly, those affordable homes won't be tucked away in one corner of the site. We aim them to be integrated throughout the development, because strong communities are mixed communities. And they'll remain affordable forever. Through our partnership with Frome Area Community Land Trust, the freehold of every affordable home will be retained in community ownership, protecting affordability for future generations. And now combining that with delivering highly energy efficient homes and potentially a community-owned local energy network, we're aiming to create these homes that are not only affordable to access, but affordable to live in too. For us, this isn't just building a housing estate, it's about creating a thriving neighbourhood and a lasting legacy for Frome.
So for hundreds of years, Saxonvale was the employment centre of Frome, and right up until recent years, it employed huge numbers of people, and every workday they spilled out into the town centre and brought it to life, supporting the weekday economy. And we want to bring that back with over 10,000 square metres of workspace suited to Frome's strengths today. That means maker businesses, creative businesses, professional services, social enterprises, and much more. And the opportunity here is real. Frome is fantastic at incubating small businesses, but at the moment that they need to grow, they tend to move elsewhere because there isn't the space for them to grow into. Whenever a new workspace opens in town, it's typically booked out almost immediately, and many of our existing workspaces have waiting lists. And when we opened for expressions of interest in the space in our plan, we received expressions for over 170% of that space. So the demand and the opportunity is clearly there. This will be a new working district and would provide a huge boost to the local economy now and for generations to come. And it's really important to say that this space will be complementary and additive to the existing town centre rather than competing with it.
And so that brings us to, I think, one of the most exciting parts of our model and of the master plan as well, is the community-owned assets. The Lido, I know some people love it and hate it, but we've got all of these different assets that we want to deliver and that we want to, house and be able to look after and steward for, in perpetuity, forever. And the CBS allows us to do that with the asset lock. We've got community hubs and cultural spaces, and to be able to support all of those incredible organisations that Frome has here. Some of them recently have really been struggling with space, and if there was the ability to provide subsidised space and those areas, and to support each other in that, and to have this in profits that are reinvested back into the site to substantiate that, and that also that with the CBS of members, that democratically we can decide the uses of these assets for future generations.
So the model that we're bringing forward is one that is designed to put money into Frome rather than take it out. So on the left-hand side, we can see the private developer route. And in this instance, Saxonvale really becomes a vehicle for investors' money. Private investment comes in, the scheme is designed to maximize the returns on that investment, which then leaves the development and leaves Frome. And that's not a criticism of developers, it's simply a natural consequence of that approach and that structure. On the right-hand side, we can see Mayday, and we would bring in a wider mix of funding. There'd be grants, community shares that we're offering now, aligned institutional investors investing alongside us. And already we can see this in the funding from residents, which we've secured, which a private developer wouldn't be able to access. The funding is from those that want the same community outcomes as we do. So they accept lower returns because part of their return is the outcomes that we deliver, that they value. The result is less money leaves the development. And critically, when Mayday earns a profit as a developer from one of the earlier phases in the scheme, we then reinvest that in later phases, therefore increasing our share of the returns in later phases. And that means dramatically more money is kept within the scheme and spent on the things that Frome needs. And grant funding can play a really significant role in expanding what we can deliver. A smaller scheme in Hastings called Hastings Commons secured over 17 million in capital grant funding for their building works. And if we landed even a third of that, it would transform what we can achieve in Saxonvale.
So why are we looking at community ownership? Well, ownership, it determines outcomes. Who owns the land and who makes the decisions? That is deciding what is happening and what the outcomes are. So it allows the value, community ownership is allowing that value to be retained and reinvested into the town and to provide those incredible assets that I was just talking about earlier.
Sorry. Is that you, Holly?
No, moving on to the next one. There we go. Why did we change over to a community benefit society? Well, we incorporated as a CBS back in December. And the reason why is because this is a proven model for community ownership. It's one of the best, it's the best robust model that there is out there. We are registered with the FCA. We're not for profit. We have that external regulation and accountability, which I know that, for all of you that are thinking about investing money, that is the thing that you want to ensure that you've got there, that you've got that accountability. And also, everything is not for profit, it's reinvested. So any profit that is generated, it must be reinvested back in, and it can only be used for community benefit. We obviously, it's a democratic, so it's one member, one vote. So no matter how much you invest, you will only have one vote. And you can stand for the board, you can vote in AGMs, and it's really strength in governance. If we are looking at, again, go back to the community assets, but if we're looking at assets and things like that we want to look after as a community in perpetuity, having that strong governance there to back that up is really, it's not just important, it's actually essential. And the key difference between what we were incorporated as before, which was a company limited by guarantee, is that there's an asset lock. So the asset lock ensures those incredible community assets, they cannot be sold for private gain, and they will always remain in the community hands forever. And also additionally, it unlocks that investment and grant funding. So what we're doing is we're taking this proven model, and it's been proven, time and time again, a successful model, and it's generally used for pubs and theatres. There's solar, things like that, and we don't know what can feel. So it's recently, not recently, a few years ago in Frome, but it's something that's proven and it works. And we are taking that proven model and we are scaling it, and we are using it to basically deliver a master plan at scale.
Oh, sorry. Right, so just thought introduce the board briefly to you. There's an awful lot more information if you're interested in reading about people's experience on the website and in the share offer. But my name is Brigid Clarke. I'm the chair. You've met Paul and Holly, who are our executive directors. The rest of us, including Ross, who's also been speaking, are non-executive directors. We're all residents of Frome, and 3 of our members were brought up in Frome. We're all doing this because we are passionate. We want to see the Mayday community-led model delivered. That's why we're all here. We're hoping to be able to meet some of you. I think we'll talk a bit later about a launch event on Wednesday this week. So most of our members of the board will be there. So we hope to see you there, and we'll tell you a bit more about that afterwards.
Cool.
Hello.
Over to you, Paul.
My name's Paul Clarke. I'm one of the co-founders of Stories. We are a purpose-led development company. We've been going about 8 years, and we've come together as a team to work on and support projects that have a higher purpose than just turning a profit. And we all come from property backgrounds, and we've all variously sort of seen the power of property development to do good things, and decided we would come together to try and focus our lives on that. And we came across, or I should say Mayday, I think came across us maybe nearly 5 years ago now. And I think it's fair to say, got immediately inspired by both the ambition of the project, but also Frome. Frome's an incredible place, incredible spirit. And it's a project that we've grown to love. And I would say it's probably the single project that I get asked most about by the industry. We have a really good team, really good growing team, and coming with lots of really deep experience of major project delivery. And we've been supporting the Mayday team to get to this point. And yeah, we're just really, really excited to continue to be part of that story.
So how did we get to where we are today? So in the first half of 2025, our original funding partner was unable to deliver on their commitments made to us and to Somerset Council. This was obviously, incredibly frustrating and disappointing to us, and also for all of you that had supported us and believed in us. But we didn't sit on our hands. We regrouped and set to work to find alternative sources of funding to complete the original deal with the council. We came very close with some prominent institutions in what was an ever increasingly tough market for sites without detailed planning consent. However, in late last year, we did secure funding from the Residents Community Developers Fund, and that is for 1.2 million, which is the biggest that they've given to any single project after they'd completed their due diligence in us. And it's important to note that 1.2 million is dependent on us meeting our minimum raise. And that money actually comes from the Ministry of Housing, from central government. And that's the only community development fund that comes out from central government. We've also secured 2 other grants, one from the REACH Fund, which is funding to enable us to complete an independent valuation of the site, ensuring that when any offer we make, we're potentially with your money, we're going to make sure that is at a market appropriate price. And we also received funding from the Community Shares Booster Fund to fund all the activities around launching and running the share offer.
So what your investment is making possible? So it will help fund a competitive bid to bring Saxonvale into community ownership, and it will be used. Then it will unlock the next stage of development. So we're looking at obviously affordable homes, spaces for local businesses, public and cultural spaces, long-term community ownership and value reinvested back into Frome. So I just wanted to talk through the community share offer. So hopefully most of you have been able to access the community documents, the share offer documents and the business plan. Again, if you have any issues at all, please feel free to email us at info@maydaysaxonvale.co.uk and we'll be able to help you. The private investment opens on Wednesday the 3rd of June, so that is this Wednesday, and then we will be going public with our investment on Monday the 8th of June. And that will be running until the 10th of July, where the investment closes. We are running the private investment period because for share offers, this early momentum of the share offer, it's really, really important. It's actually vital to making sure that you're getting those initial investments to obviously show that you've got that momentum growing before you're able to go out to to larger national sort of the public investment. So we will be running from Wednesday out to everybody that's pre-registered on our website. We've had over 700 people already, and so that period will be open and it will run throughout the weekend, and then it will open, like I said, on the 8th of June. So who can invest? Anyone, individuals 16 and over, UK residents international, and that also includes organisations including companies, charities and community groups.
So, as mentioned before, our target raise is a minimum of 1.5 million, and that's what we need to fully unlock the resonance grant that we've referenced. That will enable us to submit a competitive bid to Somerset Council for the site. 2.5 million would be optimum and would improve the offer that we can make and increase the chances of securing the site. And the maximum that we would accept is 3.5 million. So individuals can invest anywhere between £250 and 50,000, and organisations up to 100,000. Really important to keep in mind that if we are not successful in hitting our minimum or our bid is not accepted by Somerset Council, then your investment is returned. It's important to note the risk warning, which is on our community share offer and business plan, which you should also read. The community shares are a high risk investment. You could lose some or all of your money. Interest and withdrawal are not guaranteed.
So what will you receive when you invest? So you will receive a return of 5% interest, and that will begin as soon as the sale has completed, and that is 5% per annum, and withdrawals also opening from year 5, but these obviously not guaranteed. And this is something that we're announcing the first time tonight. So for all of our early investors, our foundation investors on this stage of the investment, you will have your name recorded in the site. So we're looking at some type of prominent way to record everybody's names within that site. So you will not only have the legacy of the site, but you will actually be there within the site, and your name will be there within the site, alongside all of those other incredible founding investors. And like we have mentioned previously, obviously before, your voice as well of shaping the future and being part of this incredible movement of changing the face of regeneration.
So just to put what this stage is in context of the overall development. So your investment together with the money from Resonance would fund the first stage, which is delivering a competitive bid to secure the site. And again, if we're not successful, your money is returned. And that money, if we are successful, then that funding would be used for acquiring the site and also completing detailed planning. So we need to update our outline planning application and complete a detailed planning application for phase 1. And funding for sites like this typically works in different stages. So once we've got detailed planning, that will enable us to bring in other wider institutional investment. And we've got quite a number of prominent parties who have expressed an interest in investing at that stage. We can also bring in grant funding at that point, and we may also offer another community share for people to invest at that time. With that funding secured, we would then start phase one and deliver out the rest of the scheme, which could take anywhere between 6-7 years, and investors would start to receive their interest from year one, once pending board kind of assessments, and you will be able to start to withdraw your shares from year 5. And so, yeah, the situation we're in is that the council is put the site on the market, and everyone's going to be bidding through a competitive bid process. And without community ownership, Saxonvale would definitely be sold to a traditional developer. But we think we can offer quite a competitive bid in this process for a number of reasons. Through the funding that we would bring in through resonance and through the community share offer, we'd be able to offer upfront payment to the council, whereas we would expect that the majority of private developers would offer money conditional on planning. So a commitment to pay money in the future if they got planning permission and decided they wanted to proceed with the development at that point. We're also, after years of work, very advanced in terms of our designs and in terms of being able to submit a planning application. So, we think we're well placed to do that. And Somerset Council have also confirmed to us that they do have a framework for assessing the economic and social value that any particular bidder could bring. And so that would enable us to, comparative to other bids, demonstrate that we're delivering a higher amount of value, and our bid would be, discounted through that process and be even more competitive.
So just touching on sort of going back to why we are here, and this is much bigger actually than just Frome, and we care so much obviously about Saxonvale and the future of our town, but actually what we're doing here is reimagining regeneration. Like, this is a way of not just investing in Frome, but actually investing in communities everywhere. The struggles that we're facing here in Frome is, it's happening up and down the country. Towns, especially rural towns, are just seeing this struggle with, private development is not delivering what we need, and our towns are really suffering for it. And what we're, this is it's a landmark. It's a proof of concept of a new model, community-led regeneration at scale. And what we're doing here, hopefully what our aim is that we can roll this out, to other communities, other towns. And, we're proving the concept here in Frome. And I think that as well as, having a real say in our future, is something that's really special. So just to finish on, before we go into the questions, just to touch on again, so our investment opens on Wednesday the 3rd of June, like we were saying before, for the private investment phase. Hopefully all of you have already signed up and you've got the documents. So we have your email address. We will send those details out as soon as we've got it. We are also having a private launch event, which is at the Westway Workspace, which is obviously just on the Westway precinct, which is just open. So we'll be there on Wednesday evening from 7:30 p.m. and come and join us. I think I sent you all the link today. I'll send it out again tomorrow as well for you just to register to get the details. But join us. The board will be there. You can ask us all questions. I apologise if some of you have had some trouble with hearing tonight. I will be uploading the video afterwards, and I'll put closed captions on as well for any struggle. And again, we're all here. If you've got any questions, just message us and we'll happily pick up the phone and talk through this with you in person. We are more than happy to do that with you. So just make sure that obviously that you're registered on there, and we will see you on Wednesday night, and if not, we'll see you at some other opportunity as well. But that will now take us on to the question part of the evening. Thank you.
Right, I've been monitoring a few questions coming live from people. I hope you can hear me all right. There's an interesting one that's just come in, which is, does the plan incorporate sensitive regeneration of the residual heritage structures? So I don't know who'd like to take that one.
I'm happy to do that one.
Yeah.
I think, we really see it, all of the heritage structures, which both includes some of the much older structures like the silt mill and the buildings that sit around that, but as well also some of the more 20th century kind of industrial heritage buildings. We see them as really valuable, and we want to keep as much of that as possible and really build around it and renovate those and rebuild them. And we've had renovation, all of those sites costed up. And we think if you use those buildings, you actually get a really interesting layout that is full of character, that kind of echoes some of the layouts and the interesting lanes that we all enjoy walking through in the centre of Frome. So it's about working with them, and something hopefully quite magical can happen as a result. Shall I tackle a couple of questions that we received via prior to the meeting? So we had a question which was, what happens to my money if the bid is not accepted? Well, I think we've kind of covered that a little bit, but yeah, your money would be returned. Another question linked to that, I know you can't be precise, but should the bid fail, what are your expectations of proportional costs to be deducted before the rest of the payment is returned? And there was another question also, what proportion will be retained by crowdfunder? And just to note, crowdfunder is the platform that we'll be using to receive investment. So crowdfunder charges a minimum of 7,500 platform fees and payment processing fees of 2.4% plus 20p. But these are only deducted if the funds are drawn down following a successful bid and meeting our minimum raise. So on a 1.5 million raise, that will be around 43,000 in fees. So if something falls down after the funds are drawn down, then those costs would be deducted before we returned money to investors. Shall I do another couple of questions that we received before? So I think we had a couple of questions around, there was a letter in the Frome Times suggesting that Mayday had kind of drifted from its original vision. And is now more focused on housing. And, the answer to that is very clear. Absolutely not. Our vision has not changed one jot. We remain completely committed to delivering the community-led master plan that we have, set out for the last few years. And that does mean homes, but it absolutely means employment space, community uses, green space and wider public benefits. That's what we're in this for, is to deliver that much more diverse development that we've always done. And central to that is also that the highest proportion possible of the non-residential space is owned by the community. And our recent move to becoming a community benefit society has actually strengthened that via the asset lock that Holly described earlier. And actually our previous constitution as a company limited by guarantee gave the directors, fairly wide latitude. But as a CBS, we've got kind of an immovable asset lock that means we can only use the funds for community benefit.
Can I just add to that, Paul? It's just worth reflecting on the point you made earlier that the underlying assumptions on the appraisals that we've been undertaking to support the bid to assume no grant towards those community assets, nor towards the commercial property. And as you mentioned, we have seen examples of other not-for-profit community groups that have been highly successful in securing grant towards those. And what we have done is we are using the underlying forecasts around the residential development to recycle those surpluses towards those community assets and commercial facilities. So if there is any perception that we've become too interested in residential, it's purely because we're trying to underwrite the most robust business plan for this bid.
Yeah, and if I could just then as well, because this kind of links into one of the questions that's come up on the YouTube live from Claude Hendrickson. Hi, Claude. I remember meeting you at UK Reef a few weeks ago when we were talking about some of the other community-led regeneration schemes, which was it was a really good event. And just talking about how we want to ensure diversity. So we've already discussed about that. We want to offer a complete range of different housing types and opportunities for people, different types of workspaces through creative industries, makers markets, from people working in low-income jobs to also office space for high-income jobs. We want to offer complete variety for people in the space as well, and it's an open, welcoming community. There's also really good examples already existing in Frome. If you look at the station when you come in, we've got a range of different food and eateries that are all under one roof, range from South Indian authentic food, from JJ's Trinidadian food as well, pizzeria, wine as well. Frome has already a benefit of a multicultural area, and we want to bring that right into Mayday and spread it across the town and make sure there's lots of different communities thriving.
Great.
Might take another question. Can you cover what would happen in the worst case if you can't raise enough funds to proceed, and what would happen to our shares? Well, we've answered that one already, haven't we? Which is, if we can't raise the minimum amount, then funds would be returned to those. Another question. Will investors get preference when houses are for sale? I'm afraid not. Investing in the community share offer doesn't give you that preferential right, but you certainly would be the first to know when homes are coming up for sale. Another question, how will the money raised be spent? Well, the funds raised through the community share offer are around the acquisition of the site, but also the costs of that acquisition, legal costs and stamp duty. And then it's all of the fees that are associated with bringing forward a planning application.
And I think Brigid.
We've got a few more on the live feed. Just going back to the original ones. We also had another one about after diversity, about accessibility for disabled and families with extra need children, and also on, which I suspect might come down to Paul or Ross, the flood resilience, how we're going to deal with climate change, increasing pressure on the site. Would somebody like to take those two together?
So certainly in terms of disabled access, I think that's something we would work on as we step through the design. And the approach we're going to take, which will feed into this, is that we would look to consult the community from the start of doing the development, producing the planning application, not just consulting at the end with kind of a plan that's already complete. And so we consult with a wide range of groups, including those with access needs, to make sure that we're delivering a scheme that hits the mark. What was the second question? Or Ross, did you want to take that?
No, I was just going to jump in as well on that, because one of the challenges working in regeneration some of the times is that a lot of these plans can be built with buildings with the idea first, and that you work around the buildings. That's not how we want to do Mayday. We know that we need to make this an accessible regeneration scheme, so we'll be forefront about thinking about logistics and ensuring accessibility is worked around the site, and that it makes a free-flowing, walkable and accessible site.
The other aspect of that question was to do with flood resilience and mitigation and increased risk of with climate change.
So our planning application, which was approved by 12 to 3 previously, that included designs around flood, and we had the relevant drainage consultants taking a view on that, and we passed with flying colours. I think it's worth noting it is on a floodplain, a section of the site, but only a very small proportion of the buildings are actually touching that floodplain. So it's something that needs to be managed, but it's not something that prevents the development taking place and operating safely. And it also talks to how you approach the drainage strategy. So a lot of the designs that we brought forward are kind of natural planting that enables you to drain away in a more sustainable way, whereas a lot of traditional developers will build kind of huge plastic tanks which are stuck in the ground, and we don't think is really necessary or the right way to approach that.
Slightly, there's a few questions that I think we've probably answered in our presentation documents that everybody can have a look at, but there's one about the Resonance 1.2 funding. Is it dependent on how much is being raised via the community shares and on what timescale?
So I might take that one. So yeah, so it is linked to that, and essentially from Resonance, what Resonance have offered is that we need to 50% match fund what they're delivering. So 600,000 of the 1.5 million would be therefore directly towards the land acquisition, and it's that money that unlocks the 1.2 million. But we also need to raise the full 1.5 so that we've got money for all the costs that we would incur to take forward the scheme through to the completion of detailed planning. Hope that answers that one.
Yeah, that's great. What is the likely timescale for delivery of anything on the site?
Take that one.
Talk about
possibly.
Meanwhile use as well there.
So, I think, there's a really good point, Brigid, that we wouldn't be waiting for the development to get going. There are a huge amount of space and interesting buildings on the site, and we would, within the parameters of safety, look to activate the site fully as soon as we have acquired it, both to bring it to life, let the community access the site and see this space, which has been closed off for so long, and also to generate some early revenue. We expect a planning application to be submitted within 12 months of completing a site acquisition, gain planning consent within 18 months, and works should be able to start, shortly thereafter. So that's how quickly we think we could get going. And I think that would be quicker than any other developer that will be starting from a cold start.
Mark Davis has asked what the actual value of the site is valued by the service we received a grant for, just to confirm that consultancy work hasn't started yet with commissioning now, so we don't actually know what the value is, and it would be commercially sensitive as well at this stage.
Yeah, so we wouldn't release that figure, but we would consider it as a board to make sure any offer that we were making, potentially using your money, was at market value.
What indication have you had from Somerset Council that they will accept an upfront bid or deferred payment when the value of land is potentially, they've put 5 to 6 million? I don't know where that figure.
Paul, do you want
to? Well, the agents that are appointed by the council have come out looking for sort of open to the offer structure, so both unconditional and subject to planning. We know that they previously accepted a subject to planning offer that obviously didn't succeed, and we understand that they are open to the offers that will be coming in from the market. It's quite a difficult time for a lot of developers to buy land unconditionally, so I think it's prudent for them to have an open mind about those structures, and we'll be considering our own strategy as we go forward through this process.
Right. John Clarke has asked, can we guarantee that we will deliver the community assets which is central to the vision?
I might take that one. So what we said quite clearly in the offer document is that, we can't absolutely guarantee any outcomes. What we can do is put in place a model and a structure that means whatever the external factors that might be at play, we can deliver a scheme with the best possible community outcomes and the most possible community assets. And what we can also bring alongside that is a complete determination to maximise every opportunity to deliver those. And our modelling suggests that we absolutely can do that. And that, as Paul said, is before we consider any grant funding comes in. And again, by constituting ourselves as a CBS, that brings in an asset lock and a governance structure that says if we're not pursuing those community assets adequately, then the board can be, would not stand very well at the next election. So everything's set up from every angle to maximise the amount of community space that we secure for Frome. Holly, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that as well that, back to what Brigid said about the board, like everybody on the board that is on the board lives in Frome and they care about Frome and they care about the outcomes. Like, we had so many people, it was incredible the amount of people that we had applied to the board, and every single person, they wrote about the community assets and how they were, one of the most important things. And I think it's why governance is so strong and why we have that there, to ensure that we're able to, make sure that we can deliver as much as we can. And with the Community Benefit Society, like everything is for community benefit. So all of those decisions are always going to be coming back to that. And the fact that you have everybody on the board, like every single person that cares so much about those outcomes, that is, we're not a profit-led organisation. We're not all sat here in suits and ties. Like that is everything that we want to do, and I went back recently, actually read through some of your applications just because it was actually like a good thing. And I might actually put them on social media soon, but never mind. But it, and I think that's really key. I think that's the difference. I think it's the people, and it's the care and the love, I think, that everybody has for this town. I think that's just so different from anything else.
A couple of questions just on the actual shares. Kathy Plummer's asked, can an investor be liable for more than the original investment?
No, they cannot.
Thank you. And
easy one.
There's a few other points here which I think are mainly covered in the share offer document. I don't know if we want to go into more detail. Somebody asking about the amounts that they could invest. So, which was covered earlier, but it's a minimum investment of £250 for an individual, or a maximum of 50,000. Anything in between that is totally fine too. But everybody just gets one vote. So whether you invest £250 or £50,000, you are equal in terms of your opportunity to vote at AGMs and on any matters that are taken to the board or to the members. I think, if you've got any other, did you have the ones about crowdfunding?
Just to jump in, I think there is one just a bit of a clarification from ourselves on how can the CBS ensure that the Lidos run commercially and better records in the Fusion model. I think it's just clear to say that the CBS wouldn't be taking on the operation of a swimming Lido. We'd be probably identifying a suitable operator with leisure experience that would want to take on facilities such as those who would take it on as a community owned asset. And also with it being in the CBS model as a community commercial asset, anything that goes back into it be plumbed back into the running of the facility as well. So where the difference is, where if it's a private owned facility, you may be taking more profit, but this would be going directly back into the facility itself, which would make it a much more sustainably run operation.
Just to very quickly add to that, we did actually commission a report a few years ago to actually assess how to just validate that the Lido could be run profitably. And it's a study that looked across, tens of Lidos across the southwest, and broke down in some detail how it could be run commercially successfully. Sorry, Holly.
No, that's fine. And yeah, just further to that as well, we are also there's been quite a resurgence of Lidos in the recent years, and there's a group as well that we are part of, and they got a National Lottery grant, and it's like pooling resources, and they actually have a toolkit which has all of that information. And obviously we already did commission that, but they have all of that support if we did choose to want to go down that route or to ensure that it's commercially viable. So we actually have a network already set up of other LIDOs and other organisations that are run as community asset social organisations as well, that we can use and we can lean on to ensure that it is commercially viable.
Just going to...
Sure.
One, just looking for the final few questions. When do we plan to elect the new CBS board? Well, I think I can say that we have an existing CBS board because we had to start with somebody, which is the original members. I think I'm right in saying that they will be in place for 2. Oh, Paul, do you want to take that?
Oh, well, you actually just answered it correctly. So yes, they'll be in place for at least 2 years, and that's because we need some early stability in this first period. But then the whole board would be up for re-election, and so we would have that in mind as we went through the first 2 years and tried to put in a good performance.
And the re-elections will be at the AGM each year, which will be held, and everybody who's a member is entitled to attend that meeting and vote there.
Do you have any of the ones about the crowdfunder?
I don't think so.
Yeah, but they're on there, the ones I gave you.
Oh no, what, the original ones?
No, yeah.
No, we've done all of that.
No, it's not the crowdfunder ones. Oh. Has it gone? Proportion will be retained by crowdfunder.
We covered that already. You can ask. You can say again.
I think there was just some questions as well about crowdfunder and using crowdfunder, and just obviously I think it was the proportions of that would be retained by crowdfunder and any fees that might be incurred.
I think we touched on that earlier, that they do charge a fee of a minimum of 7,500 if we were raising our minimum, and that's the fee to them. And then there are also transaction fees of 2.4% plus 20p for each transaction.
I think we're coming to the end. If anybody has any more questions that they want to ask at all, please add them on there. I think you've got one more come in.
Yeah, it looks like quite specific. Are there any issues with me as an attorney and the LPA investing on behalf of the donor or the LPA? Assuming this proceeds, can I vote on their behalf? So, so lasting power of attorney, that's something I don't think we would know the answer between us, but we could certainly look into that with Cooperatives UK and see what the advice is on that.
So if you possibly email us at info@maydaysaxonvale.co.uk and we can explore that further.
Here's quite a good one. How will the board members be monitored to ensure they are staying aligned to the mission, objectives and statements?
That's a great question. So I think what we would be committing to do as a board is to keeping the community regularly updated on our performance and on the performance of the scheme and how we're progressing through planning. And I think, throughout this process to date, we've done under Holly's watch, we've done a pretty good job of communicating out to the community, and we would keep that going. And I think we would be setting quite clear objectives and plans for the coming periods against which we would be, tested and evaluated.
Can I add to that we make decisions collectively, so it has to be agreed by a majority of people, and there are some decisions that would have to go back to the members if they were significant. So, for example, making a significant change to the CBS constitution or the articles we would need to go back to the members. And it is, we have a code of conduct as directors and an obligation in terms of our status as directors of CBS, which we take very seriously. Just wanted to reassure people about that. It is something that we're very aware of and conscious of. I actually think we might be just about at the end of the questions. We can, if anybody else does have something that we've missed, we can pop it up on our frequently asked questions on the website. And any of these we can also pick up and maybe put a quick response so that they're on there for other people to be able to read.
Yeah, and also if I sometimes take time to go away and have a think about it and then think about questions afterwards, think I should have asked it. So obviously you can always ask us anytime. Like I said, we've got a WhatsApp community now, so you can join on there. You can email us at info@maydaysaxonvale.co.uk. Obviously you can keep commenting on there, and we have your email, etc. We can respond to you directly. Again, apologies for some people that haven't been able to hear. If you had any trouble and you did want anybody to talk through any of the information we've got, please just let us know and we'd be more than happy to do so. Again, we will be putting this recording up onto YouTube, and I'll be adding closed captions as well for you if that will help too. Please also have a look at the link to register for Wednesday if you are around. It'd be amazing to join in the event with all of you. Again, we will all be there in person, so if you have any more questions or anything like that you wanted to talk through, we will all be there. So we look forward to seeing you there, welcoming you there. And again, don't worry if you can't make it. There'll be lots of other opportunities to be able to, ask any questions or anything else as well.
And just thank you all for attending. It's been a really impressive number of people, so we're very grateful for you spending your time this evening with us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. And I guess we will say